Disclaimer 4. The Uber Dream. This story is a work of realistic fiction. While it is inspired by the struggles and experiences faced by many immigrants around the world, the characters, events, and business names depicted are entirely fictional and created for motivational and educational purposes only. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or real businesses is purely coincidental. The strategies and methods mentioned are based on publicly available information and personal interpretations. Viewers are encouraged to conduct their own research and consult professionals before making any financial or business decisions. This video is intended to inspire, not instruct. Drive safe, hustle smart, dream big.
When I left Lahore, I thought I was chasing the American dream. What I didn't know was that the dream doesn't wait for anyone. You have to drive toward it yourself. This is not a rags to riches story. It's a story of depression, desperation, and finally, determination. It's the journey of a man who turned rejection into revenue and loneliness into leadership. And it all started with a rented Toyota Corolla. The plane landed with a soft jolt. The fasten seatbelt sign pinged overhead, but Ahmed Raza barely noticed it. His fingers clutched the handle of his worn-out hand-carry bag, and his heart thudded like a tabla under pressure. After 23 hours of air travel, Lahore to Doha, Doha to JFK, he was finally here. America, the land of opportunity. He peered out the window. New York City didn't look like the movies. The buildings near the airport were dull. The sky was gray. The people rushing past in the terminal had their heads down, focused, cold. No smiles. No one said, "Welcome." Just loud announcements and the smell of fried chicken. But Ahmed still smiled. He had a master's degree from UET Lahore, 5 years of experience as a junior engineer, and a student visa for a business program in upstate New York. His goal? Get an American degree, a good job, and in 2 years, bring his younger brother to join him. His dreams were neatly folded inside that suitcase. Right beside the Nawala his mother had packed, still wrapped in aluminum foil. It was cold now, but he wouldn't throw it away. "This has my mother's dua in it," he'd whispered when customs asked to inspect it. A new world. A harsh welcome. Ahmed stepped out into the brisk April wind and immediately shivered. His cheap knockoff jacket from Anarkali Bazaar wasn't enough for this weather, but he held himself high, pushing his trolley toward the air train. His cousin Samir, who had promised to pick him up, messaged, "Bro, running late. Take Uber to my place. Sorry." Ahmed blinked at the screen. He didn't even know how to order an Uber yet. He asked a security guard who barely nodded toward a sign and walked off. That night, he arrived at Samir's cramped apartment in Jamaica, Queens, exhausted. The apartment smelled like curry and socks. There were 3 other Desi roommates, all working odd jobs, sleeping on floor mattresses. Samir offered him the couch. "It's just for a few weeks," Ahmed told himself. "Once I get my degree and a job, I'll get my own place." But the first reality check hit hard during his very first week at college. Degrees don't feed you. The college was small, barely more than a community campus. His professors spoke fast, assuming everyone was familiar with American corporate terms. Ahmed struggled to keep up. He emailed dozens of firms looking for internships, mentioning his engineering background and that he was studying business now. No replies. His LinkedIn profile felt like a lonely ghost town. He would spend hours in the college library perfecting his resume and emailing HRs. But the truth was brutal. No one cared about a foreign degree or experience if it wasn't local. His roommate, a Bangladeshi named Jamil, gave it to him straight one night. "Bro, in America, your past doesn't matter. You start here like a newborn." Ahmed laughed bitterly. "Then how come babies don't have to pay rent?" They both chuckled. But inside, Ahmed was sinking. Rent, rice, and reality. Within 3 months, his savings from Pakistan dried up. Samir started getting frustrated. "Yar, I love you, but rent is rent. You have to contribute." Ashamed, Ahmed started working under the table in a friend's Desi restaurant, washing dishes for $9 an hour. Every night, he'd come home soaked in curry water and grease, his hands raw and smelly. On weekends, he worked at a warehouse, lifting boxes heavier than his dreams. There was no time for networking, no time for hope, just survival. He stopped calling home often. He didn't want his mother to hear the fatigue in his voice. When his father asked, "Beta, engineering job Mila?" Ahmed would lie. "Inshallah Abu, interview ho raha hai. Dua karain." The isolation of immigrants. Loneliness began to eat at him like rust. In Lahore, he was never alone. Now, Even with roommates around, silence screamed at him. No one had time. Everyone was working. In New York, time is more expensive than rent. He'd take long walks in the cold after work, staring at American families eating at diners, couples holding hands, young people laughing, and he'd wonder, is this what I came for? There were nights when he'd cry quietly on the couch, scrolling job portals on his cracked Samsung phone, knowing no one was going to call back. Then one day, he saw a post in a Pakistani Facebook group. No job? Drive Uber. Good money. Flexible hours. He ignored it at first. Driving strangers around? After being a respected engineer? His ego couldn't take it. But ego doesn't pay bills. 2 days later, he clicked the link. The decision that changed everything. Ahmed messaged the poster. Turns out, the guy was renting out Uber-approved cars to new immigrants without credit history. You drive, pay $350 a week, keep the rest. You're your own boss. Ahmed hesitated. He barely had $500 in his account. What if it didn't work? But something inside him whispered, what's the worst that can happen? You already have nothing. He went for it. He spent the next week studying how Uber worked, downloading the app, getting a US driving license. Thankfully, he had learned to drive in Lahore. And finally, renting a silver Toyota Corolla. His first day behind the wheel, waiting for his first ride request, his hands trembled. Sweat gathered at the back of his neck, despite the cold. Then came the ping. Pickup, Madison Avenue. Drop-off, Midtown Manhattan. Fare, $13.85. He drove slowly, nervously. The passenger, a corporate lady, barely looked at him, but she was polite. When she got out, she left a 2-tip. Ahmed stared at his phone. That's more than what I earned in 1 hour of washing dishes. And she had smiled. For the first time in months, he smiled back at life. The road ahead. Over the next few days, Ahmed would drive across all 5 boroughs: Queens, Manhattan, Brooklyn, Bronx, and Staten Island. He learned the roads, the lingo, and the people. There were challenges, parking tickets, rude riders, long traffic jams, and aching legs. But there was also freedom. He controlled his hours. He met people. He started saving again. Most importantly, he started believing again. One night, while waiting for a ride near JFK Airport, he looked up at the sky and whispered, Shukriya Allah. I don't have much, but I'm moving. That movement, that momentum, was about to take him much further than he ever imagined. The car was clean. The phone was charged. The engine purred like a tired old cat. But Ahmed felt numb. It was 11:48 p.m. on a Thursday night, and he had just dropped off his last rider in Manhattan. The neon lights reflected in his windshield, blurry and meaningless. His stomach growled he hadn't eaten in 12 hours. A half-eaten granola bar lay on the passenger seat, beside a plastic bottle of water. That was his dinner. He parked the car outside a Dunkin' Donuts and just sat there, staring at nothing. He didn't want to go home, because home was a couch in a living room where Samir and the other roommates laughed and watched YouTube, pretending everything was fine. Ahmed couldn't pretend anymore. 1. The dark spiral begins. The first signs of depression were silent. There was no explosion, no public breakdown, just a slow fade. It started with small things, ignoring calls from his mother, avoiding WhatsApp groups from university friends back home, skipping breakfast, then lunch, then dinner. Sleep was broken. Appetite vanished. Joy became a stranger. He would drive for 12, sometimes 14 hours a day. Not because he was ambitious, but because he didn't want to be alone with his thoughts. At red lights, he would zone out completely. At green lights, riders would shout, "Hey, are you okay?" He'd smile and lie. "Sorry, long shift. Just a bit tired." But inside, he felt completely hollow. The cost of surviving. Every week, he made just enough to pay for. $350 for the car rental, $200 for rent, $50 for groceries, $25 for laundry, Wi-Fi, and his phone bill. That left maybe $50, $70 extra if nothing went wrong. Sometimes, things did go wrong. Flat tire Parking ticket 1. Star review from a rude rider snowstorm that killed his whole shift. Ahmed kept grinding, but it felt like he was running on a treadmill burning calories, but going nowhere. When are you visiting, Beta? One Sunday evening, his mother video called him. She was sitting on the veranda in Lahore, the fan spinning above her head, her dupatta slipping off her shoulder, like always. His younger brother Fahad popped into the frame. Ahmed, bye. When are you coming back to visit? Amma says you'll bring chocolates from America. Ahmed froze. His throat tightened. He hadn't told them anything, not about the Uber job, not about his struggles, not even about how sometimes he slept in the car when he didn't want to go home. Soon, inshallah. Just saving up. I'll bring lots of chocolates. His mother smiled. Bas dua hai tumhari job mil jai kisi company main. Tum tu mashallah first class engineer ho. He swallowed the shame like acid. Amin, Amma. They ended the call. Ahmed stared at his reflection on the black phone screen afterward, and the silence hit him like thunder. He felt like a fraud. A stranger's kindness. 2 days later, while picking up a rider from Brooklyn, something unusual happened. A middle-aged black woman got in, dressed in a nurse's uniform. She looked tired, but smiled warmly. Long day for you, driver? Ahmed nodded. Yes, ma'am. Long night. She laughed softly. Tell me something, son. What made you start driving Uber? For the first time, he didn't give a rehearsed answer. He told her everything. How he came from Pakistan full of dreams. How he couldn't find a job. How he was ashamed. How some days he didn't want to wake up. She didn't interrupt once, just listened. When they reached her stop, she turned to him. You're stronger than you think. You're doing what many people wouldn't, surviving. Every ride you take is a step away from defeat. Be proud. Then she tapped her phone and added a 25 tip. Ahmed blinked, stunned. Thank you. I don't know what to say. She smiled again. Say this. I'm not lost. I'm just building my map. A shift in the mind. That night, something shifted in Ahmed. He still felt tired, still felt behind, but her words echoed in his mind. Every ride is a step away from defeat. He opened a new notebook, one he had bought months ago for his corporate job planning, and wrote down 3 goals. Drive 70 hours a week for 3 months straight. Save 0. Research side hustles, any legal, smart way to build income in the US. He also decided to start learning more about credit scores, US tax systems, car ownership rules, Uber algorithm tricks, tipping psychology, rider behavior, passive income ideas. He turned his car into a classroom. The road university. Ahmed began noticing patterns. Mornings equals airport rides. Afternoons equals tourists. Fridays, Saturdays equals drunk nightlife crowd. Sunday evenings equals high chance of family tips. He changed his strategy. He started keeping water bottles and gum in the car. He downloaded podcasts, Side Hustle School, Bigger Pockets, How I Built This, and played them between rides. He talked to passengers when they seemed friendly, asking what they did, how they got started, what made them successful. To his surprise, most people liked sharing. Some were doctors, some were failed entrepreneurs, some were teachers. One guy was even a retired Navy officer who said, "Son, you keep driving with this attitude, you won't be behind the wheel forever. You'll own the car, then you'll own the road." The first spark. Turo. One evening, a young rider wearing a Tesla jacket got in. He was chatty. "So how long you been driving, man?" Ahmed said, "About 7 months, trying to build something eventually." The rider leaned forward. "You ever heard of Turo?" Ahmed blinked. "No. What's that?" "It's like Airbnb for cars. People rent out their cars for others to drive. I made $900 last weekend from just my old Civic." Ahmed's brain exploded. "Wait, so you don't drive the car?" "Nope, I rent it. Turo handles the insurance. It's all app-based." As the ride ended, the rider said something that stayed with him. "You already understand people, routes, and time. You're halfway there. Just think like an owner. A new dawn begins." That night, Ahmed couldn't sleep. He stayed up reading everything he could about Turo. The platform, the requirements, the insurance options, the risks, the possibilities. Could he really do this? He checked his savings. Just under 1,800. Not enough yet, but close. He made up his mind. I will save up. I will buy a car, not for Uber, for myself, to rent, to build. And for the first time in months, when he looked at himself in the bathroom mirror, he didn't feel shame. He felt the spark of purpose. The dealership was a 40-minute train ride from Ahmed's apartment, a small family-run spot in Brooklyn that sold pre-owned vehicles with in-house financing for people with no credit. The sun was out, unusually warm for early March in New York, and inside Ahmed's chest, something else was warming too, hope, though still fragile, like glass in a toddler's hands. He had spent 3 full months driving Uber without a break, not a single day off. His routine had become military. Wake at 6:30, on the road by 7:15, meals in the car, 12, 14 hours a day, 6, 7 days a week. He never told anyone he was working towards something. He just showed up, quietly, daily, faithfully. And now, standing in front of a 2016 Toyota Camry, silver, clean title, 115, 0 miles, 300. Ahmed pulled out a wad of mostly 20 bills and put down 500 cash. He didn't even test drive it. You sure? The salesman asked. Yes, Ahmed said. It's not for driving. It's for building. The man looked confused, but Ahmed wasn't about to explain his dream in broken words. Meet Camry 1, the start of something. He took the car straight home and didn't tell his roommates. Parked it a few blocks away. This car wasn't for Uber. This car was for something new, Turo. He had already signed up on the platform, watched 60 Jaon YouTube tutorials, joined forums, and prepared a listing description in perfect English. He bought fabric seat covers, a steering wheel grip, car air fresheners, and a small phone charger. He took crisp, clear photos of the car in daylight. The listing went live at 3:20 p.m. By 6:45 p.m., he got his first booking. 3-day rental, 119. He stared at the phone in disbelief. His hand trembled as he tapped. Accept. Even the jitters of the first rental. The renter was a young college student going on a weekend trip to Pennsylvania. Pickup scheduled for 9 a.m. the next morning. Ahmed woke up at 6 a.m. and cleaned the car again, even though it was already spotless. He watched 5 more Turo videos on first impressions, then drove nervously to the meetup spot outside a Dunkin' Donuts. The renter arrived cheerful, respectful, asked no questions. Ahmed handed him the keys with a rehearsed line. I hope you enjoy your trip. Just drive safe, please. Then, silence. He walked away. That whole day, Ahmed couldn't focus on Uber rides. He kept checking the app for damage reports, late returns, bad reviews. His stomach was in knots. But when the renter returned the car, 72 hours later on time, clean, and with a 5-star review, Ahmed felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Validation. He had taken a risk, and the world had responded with trust, counting the first dollar that matters. After platform fees, the total payout was 91.8. Ahmed held that deposit slip like it was gold. He had made money not by driving, not by trading hours for dollars, but by using an asset smartly. He wrote the date down in his notebook and circled it in red. March 20, first Turo income. I am no longer only a driver. He didn't celebrate with friends. He didn't post it online. Instead, he bought himself a single hot cup of coffee from a real cafe, not gas station brew. He sat in the corner by the window, sipping it slowly, watching New York pass by. And for the first time since arriving in America, he felt peaceful, building the routine. Over the next few weeks, Ahmed repeated the process. Every Uber dollar saved went into the car. Every Turo review was responded to with gratitude. Every issue, a scratched tire, a late return became a lesson. He even added small touches. A folder with printed FAQs for renters, hand sanitizer, and phone holders in the glove box. Free bottled water in the cup holders. People noticed. His second renter left a glowing review. better than any rental car service. Clean, convenient, and very respectful owner. And then came the third, then fourth. His Camry started getting booked 20-25 days a month. Uber during the day, Turo at night. Ahmed developed a dual system. Morning, Uber from 6:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Afternoon, Turo car prep, pickup, drop off. Evening, Uber again from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. Sundays, he reserved for oil changes, deep cleaning, and research. He slept less, but he felt more alive. His roommates started noticing. Ahmed bhai, ab takai nahi hote, thakta hun, he'd smile. Lekin rukta nahi hun. Momentum begins, but so does pressure. By month 4, he had made over 1,400 profit from the Camry, after all expenses. He thought about buying a second car, a Prius this time, but fear crept in. What if demand drops? What if both cars get booked at the same time? What if someone crashes a car? What if I get sued? He sat alone that night, staring at the empty pizza box on his floor, anxiety clawing at his chest. Do I grow, or do I stay safe? And then he remembered the lady nurse from Brooklyn. Every ride is a step away from defeat. He opened his laptop and started searching for his second vehicle. One passenger, one turning point. One rainy Tuesday afternoon, Ahmed picked up a passenger from a hospital. Elderly, American, oxygen tank in hand. During the 40-minute drive, the man shared that he used to be a mechanical engineer. Lost his wife, lost his health, but never gave up. He looked at Ahmed through the rearview mirror and said, "Son, I don't know you, but I can tell you're not just driving people. You're driving yourself somewhere. Don't stop." Ahmed almost teared up. "Thank you, sir. That means a lot." The man smiled. "Don't thank me. Just keep going. Someone out there is waiting for what you're about to build." The realization. That night, Ahmed stood on the rooftop of his building, letting the wind hit his face, staring at the city skyline. He thought of everything. The fear, the failure, the first ride, the Turo idea, the endless driving, the hunger, the kindness of strangers, the smell of curry from the restaurant kitchen, the long calls to no one. And now, he owned a car that made money while he slept. He was no longer just surviving. He was strategizing. This was no longer about making ends meet. This was about breaking cycles. He wasn't just chasing the American dream. He was driving toward it on his own terms. Every successful man has a season of madness. For Ahmed Raza, that season started in August, 6 months after his first Turo car listing. By now, he owned 2 vehicles. The original silver Camry, still his golden goose. A newly purchased 2014 Prius, fuel-efficient and popular among eco-conscious renters. Both were on Turo, both were in demand, and he was still driving Uber, which meant his schedule became inhuman. 5:45 a.m. Wake up, shower, check bookings. 6:15 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Uber shift. Airport rides, morning commuters. 1:30 p.m. to 3:00 p.m. Turo drop-offs, refuel, clean cars. 3:00 p.m. to 4:00 p.m. Late lunch, often in the car. 4:00 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Uber second shift, evening rush, nightlife. 10:00 p.m. Respond to reviews, confirm bookings, update logs. 10:30 p.m. Crash into bed, repeat, every single day. Time became a currency. Ahmed didn't waste a second. He no longer scrolled social media. He barely texted anyone. His only form of entertainment was listening to audiobooks and podcasts. Not fiction, but business strategy. Car rental hacks. Motivation talks. Finance planning. Tax strategies for 1,099 workers. He called this period his mental MBA. Money was too good to stop in September alone, he made. 100 from Uber, 980 net from Turo. That was more than 0 in a month, the highest he had ever made in his life, even back in Lahore as an engineer. He paid off one of his car loans early. He opened a second bank account just for savings. He finally sent 500 home to his mother with a simple note, "Use this to fix the kitchen roof. Love, Ahmed." She sent him a voice note crying, "Beta, Allah tumhai nitna dekai tum kisi ka motaj na ho, tum mera faka ho." For the first time, Ahmed didn't cry out of guilt. He cried out of gratitude, but the body has limits. By the third week of September, Ahmed's eyes were bloodshot. His back ached constantly. He started forgetting things, drop-off locations, booking times, even meal breaks. One night, while driving back from a drop-off in Brooklyn, he nodded off at a red light. A honk woke him up. His heart raced. He had no memory of stopping. That night, he didn't sleep. Not because of work, because of fear. What if I had drifted during a ride? What if I hit someone? What if this all ends in 1 second? The hustle was heroic, but it was killing him. First real breakdown. On a Thursday morning, as he was vacuuming the Camry for a new booking, he felt a sharp pain in his lower back. He collapsed onto the passenger seat, gasping. He sat there, frozen, for nearly 40 minutes, staring out of the windshield as tears streamed down silently. "I'm just one man." He called off Uber that day, canceled 2 rides, and did something unthinkable. He slept 12 hours straight. And when he woke up, for the first time in months, his head was clear, refocusing the vision. That day, Ahmed made a new rule. Sundays are off. No Uber, no Turo. Just rest, meal prep, calls with family, journaling. He bought a simple 4 whiteboard from Walmart and wrote on it, "Drive, save, scale, but don't die trying." He realized, hustle is noble, but sustainability is survival. He also started using Google Calendar for booking drop-offs, oil change schedules, tax document reminders. One weekly motivational goal, Ahmed was becoming more than a hustler. He was becoming a manager of his own small but growing empire. Human lessons from the road. Every Uber shift still brought new stories. A mother crying quietly on the way to divorce court. A just married couple going to JFK for their honeymoon. A drunk guy who tipped 50 and said, "You're the only person who listened to me today." Each passenger taught him something about the human soul. He started keeping a notebook titled, "People I Meet." In it, he recorded their first words, their moods, their dreams, if they shared, his reflections. It helped him remember he wasn't just moving cars, he was moving through life and collecting stories. Trouble on wheels, then disaster struck. It was early October. A Turo renter called in a panic. "Hey, your Prius. Someone broke into it. Windows smashed." "I'm sorry, man." Ahmed's heart dropped. When he arrived, his car was a mess. Window shattered. Glove box torn open. Personal items gone. The renter had left the car on a Brooklyn street. Not illegal, but risky. Ahmed felt rage rising, but he held it. He filed a police report, filed a Turo claim, sent proof, and waited. 8 days. No payout, no decision, and no rental income. That week, he lost 400 yuan in expected revenue. The test of maturity old Ahmed, 6 months ago, would have panicked. New Ahmed didn't. He took a deep breath, used his Uber money to fix the car, posted a polite explanation on Turo, then doubled his renter screening. Verified profiles, only 5-star renters, location agreements, added security cameras to his parking spot. He turned pain into process. He turned emotion into execution. And that's when he realized, success doesn't mean no problems. It means learning to stay standing while the wind hits your face, preparing for the next jump. As October came to a close, Ahmed had 2 cars on Turo averaging 1,800 month net from them, 3,000 month from Uber, 4,500 saved, Weekly routines in place, no more skipped meals, one full rest day each week. Most importantly, he was smiling again. Not the forced smile he gave riders, but the one he gave himself in the mirror. The one that whispered, "We're not where we want to be, but we're not where we used to be either. We're building something, slowly, surely, smartly." The cold hit New York early that November. Ahmed pulled his hoodie tighter as he stepped into the lot, where his Camry and Prius were parked side by side, the only two cars in the lot, with handwritten notes on their dashboards. "Thank you for choosing us. Please treat this car like your own, and drive safe." 2 renters were due in 30 minutes. He popped open both trunks. Cleaned, stocked, inspected. The Camry had logged 93 rental days in 4 months. The Prius? Already booked for 27 of the last 30. Demand was real. The system worked, but one truth lingered like steam from the city grates. Ahmed couldn't grow without help. The unexpected phone call. At 7:32 p.m. that same evening, his old friend from university, Bilal, called from Chicago. "Bro, I just got here. Student visa, got accepted into Northeastern. Can't find a job, can't sleep, don't know what I'm doing." Ahmed recognized the tone. It was his own voice, 6 months ago. He listened quietly. Then he asked one question. "Do you have a driver's license yet?" "Yeah, international permit." "Good. Pack your bags. Come to New York. I'll teach you what no job can." Mentorship begins. Bilal arrived 3 days later, broke, confused, but eager. Ahmed let him crash on his floor for a week, taught him everything. Uber sign up, what time to drive, what routes pay best, how to talk to passengers, how to handle stress, silence, late nights. He even let Bilal use his own Uber driver account temporarily, while paperwork cleared. Bilal called Ahmed's system Raza University. They laughed about it, but Ahmed took it seriously. 3rd car with no driver. After training Bilal, Ahmed had an idea. What if he bought a 3rd car and let Bilal drive Uber with it while paying him weekly? He crunched the math. Purchase price, $4,800. Used Nissan Sentra. Projected monthly gross from Uber, $2,500 gas. Maintenance, $400 insurance. $150 pay Bilal. $1,200 month net profit. $750. $800 month. More importantly, time freedom. He would be making money without sitting in the car himself. It was a leap of faith, but every risk he had taken so far had brought growth, even if the growth hurt. He bought the car, registered it, created a written agreement with Bilal. Clean, fair, legal. And just like that, Raza Rentals became a team of 2. Becoming a businessman, not just a driver, Ahmed started thinking like a CEO, not a hustler. He created Google Sheets for revenue and expenses, a digital calendar for Turo bookings, and Uber Shift's weekly performance reports, an emergency savings fund, a checklist for vehicle cleaning, damage checks, and fuel tracking. He read a book called The E-Myth Revisited, and it changed how he saw his operation. If you want to scale, you have to build systems that work without you. That became his new goal. Small wins, big confidence. In late November, he completed 0 Uber rides, got 100 Hyun 5-star Turo reviews, received a Turo Powerhouse badge, filed his first quarterly taxes, painful but empowering, got an offer to rent parking space from a local business owner in Queens, cheap and safe. Every win wasn't massive, but they added up. He wasn't making millions, but for the first time in his life, he wasn't afraid of Mondays. A holiday he could afford. December arrived. Ahmed usually dreaded holidays. They reminded him of home, of Eid, of chai with parents, of cold Lahore nights with dal and heaters. But this time, something shifted. He closed both Uber and Turo for 2 full days, Christmas Eve and day, and did something shocking. He took a walk in Central Park. Just him, his coffee, and a soft snow. For the first time, New York didn't feel like a monster. It felt like a map, and he was learning how to navigate it. The review that changed everything. On December 30th, a Turo renter left a review. Raza is not just a car host, he's a gentleman. Felt like I was renting from a friend. Clean car, fast responses, and genuinely cares. That renter? A small-time YouTuber with 40 followers. He featured Ahmed's Turo story in a short vlog. By the next week, Ahmed's listing got 18 new requests. He started getting DMs from new immigrants. Bro, can you help me start Uber? How do I do what you're doing? Can you rent me a car too? That's when Ahmed knew. This wasn't just business anymore. This was becoming a blueprint. What the leap meant. Buying that third car wasn't just about revenue. It was about trust. Trust in a system. Trust in a person. Trust in a future that wasn't guaranteed. Ahmed stood one evening in the garage, looking at his 3 vehicles lined up. A year ago, he was a depressed immigrant with a broken phone and a broken dream. Now, he was building something that moved, even when he slept. And it all started with one risk. One car. One leap. One life rebuilt. Winter didn't scare Ahmed anymore. Last year, it had felt cold and cruel, a symbol of isolation. But this year, as snow blanketed the streets of Queens, Ahmed felt warm from the inside. He stood in front of a small garage space he'd just rented. Nothing fancy, just concrete, cold walls, a roll-up shutter, and flickering lights. But it was his. Inside were the Camry, freshly vacuumed, the Prius, ready for delivery, the Nissan Sentra, now officially Bilal's Uber car, and a recently purchased 4th car, a 2015 Honda Civic, dark gray. The Civic was still being registered, but Ahmed was already planning who would drive it. His little empire was growing. 5 cars, 5 streams, 1 system. Ahmed had a simple mantra written on a whiteboard in the garage. Don't grow fast, grow right. He didn't want chaos, he wanted consistency. By now, he had created a 5-part checklist for every vehicle. Weekly maintenance log Turo, Uber review analysis, driver behavior feedback, earnings per car report, cleaning and condition, rating. He wasn't just running a side hustle, he was running a legit micro fleet. He even registered a LLC, Raza Auto Solutions. He opened a business bank account, hired a part-time bookkeeper, and started watching tutorials on QuickBooks and LLC taxes. But the biggest step? He posted a job ad, looking for part-time assistant, fluent in Urdu, Hindi preferred. Driving knowledge, Jawan, honesty a must, will train. Enter Danish, the charmer. The first applicant was a 23-year-old Pakistani named Danish. He was newly arrived, polite, well-spoken, and eager. He had no US work history, but had helped his uncle run a taxi service in Dubai. He reminded Ahmed of himself. You give me one chance, Danish said. I'll make sure you never regret it. Ahmed trusted him. He hired him as a part-time driver and garage assistant for $500 month plus incentives. Danish was smart, too smart. Within weeks, he learned the check-in, out system, cleaned cars better than Ahmed himself, found 2 new parking spots through a local contact, suggested cheaper mechanics in Queens. Ahmed was impressed. For the first time, he didn't have to do everything alone, from 4 to 5 growing fast. By late February, Ahmed had purchased his 5th vehicle, a Hyundai Elantra, with only 87,000 miles. He now had 3 cars on Turo, 2 on Uber. Bilal as a full-time Uber driver. If I quit now, everything I endured becomes just pain, not purpose. The dream refined. That night, he changed the name of his whiteboard in the garage from Raza Auto Solutions to the Uber Dream, because it wasn't about Uber anymore. It was about a dream that started in the backseat of someone else's life and moved to the driver's seat of his own. By April, New York's winter was melting away, and so was Ahmed's small-time identity. His business now had 5 vehicles, 3 on Turo, 2 on Uber, a garage space with security cameras, 2 part-time assistants, Bilal, driver manager, and Maria, fleet care, a registered LLC, a growing brand, over 90 month in recurring revenue. But what mattered most? For the first time, he didn't need to drive daily. He had created something that ran not fully without him, but independent enough to breathe. Growth pressure. The good kind. With growth came new challenges. Bookings clashed with maintenance days. Customer service required faster responses. Cars needed winter to summer. Tir change. Minor repairs caused downtime. Equals lost revenue. And, most of all, he was getting too many rental requests to keep rejecting. That's when Bilal said, "Bro, why don't you just get 2-3 more cars? The demand is there." Ahmed nodded slowly. He had been thinking the same. But to grow further, he needed more cars, more hands, more capital. The first bank meeting, Ahmed, dressed up in clean jeans, a blazer from Marshall's, and borrowed shoes to visit a local credit union for a business line of credit. He brought 6 months of earnings reports, tax filing documents, proof of LLC in operations, screenshots of 5-star reviews. The loan officer, a woman in her early 30s named Jocelyn, was impressed. "Mr. Raza, you're one of the few walk-ins I've seen with real numbers and a real story," she asked. "How much are you looking for?" Ahmed hesitated, then said, 25,000. I want to expand to 8 cars. She typed silently. After reviewing, she said, "With your cash flow and no delinquencies, we can approve you for 15,000 right now. As a business line." Ahmed felt like he had just been handed a sword. The expansion begins smart, strategic. Over the next 6 weeks, Ahmed used that 15K to buy 2 used vehicles at auction, a 2015 Corolla and a 2017 Sonata. Upgrade the garage locks and lighting. Create a small website for Raza Auto Solutions. Get business insurance. Add an automatic reservation system synced with Turo and Uber driver shifts. He also did something bold. He hired a virtual assistant from Pakistan for $180 a month to manage bookings, emails, and social media. It was a game changer. Caging his system, Ahmed began training others now. He built a step-by-step driver onboarding manual, a WhatsApp group for driver updates, a Google form for vehicle damage reports, a system where drivers earned bonuses for clean records. He even printed a small poster for the garage wall. The Raza method: respect the ride, honor the hustle, communicate clearly, never lie, keep the dream alive. Bilal laughed and said, "Bro, you sound like a TED Talk now." Ahmed smiled. "Good. Maybe one day I'll give one." The call that changed the trajectory. One Friday afternoon, his website contact form received a message. Subject: Bulk Fleet Rentals message. "Hi. I run a small event management company in Brooklyn. We regularly need 5-6 cars for guest pickups during wedding season. Found your site. Are you open to corporate rentals?" Ahmed's heart raced. He replied immediately. Scheduled a meeting. Prepared a PDF pitch deck using Canva and ChatGPT. 2 days later, he walked into a halal bakery in Brooklyn to meet the client. The man, Kashif, reviewed his rates, fleet, reviews, then said, "If you can commit 4 clean cars every weekend, I'll pay $500 per car per 3-day wedding. Cash or transfer. Starting next month." Ahmed almost choked on his tea. Deal. From hustle to brand, this one client alone would bring in 2-0 weekend and seasonal income. Ahmed used this momentum to trademark the Uber Dream as a content, Yawan consulting brand. Start a YouTube channel showing his story, tutorials, post daily Instagram reels, fleet tips, Turo truths, Uber hacks. People loved it. Messages flooded in. "You're living proof it's possible. Can you help me start this in Toronto? What if I only have 1 car? How can I work for you, bye?" He realized he had built more than a business. He'd built belief. His eyes on the next prize. A lot of his own. Late one night, Ahmed sat with Maria doing math. 7 cars, 3 drivers, 1 virtual assistant, seasonal bulk client, still turning profit after expenses. But rent for the garage was increasing. Space was getting tight. So Ahmed said, "Maria, what if we buy our own lot?" She laughed. He didn't. Palmed the vision board. He printed a big map of Queens. Pinned, car washes, abandoned lots, places for potential commercial lease, storage unit prices, zoning rules. He wrote one line at the top in bold black marker. I came here to work for someone. Now I'm building something others will work for. There's a special kind of courage required to dream of owning land in New York City. Most immigrants dream of surviving here. But Ahmed had moved beyond survival. Now he wanted control. He didn't want to keep paying garage rent to landlords who didn't care about his story. He wanted a small commercial space, just a lot where he could park 10 cars, build a small office, shed, install cameras and key drop boxes, have full independence, a place that would become the heart of the Uber dream. The first plot. He found it on a cold, wet morning in March. A 30-square-foot fenced lot in Jamaica, Queens, listed for sale by owner at 92.0. Gravel surface, empty, no utilities, but zoned for commercial use. It was ugly. But to Ahmed, it looked like a castle. He scheduled a meeting with the owner, an old Greek-American man named Mr. Stavros, who lived nearby and had inherited the lot from his late brother. It's been sitting for years. Stavros shrugged. I don't use it. If you got the money, you can have it. Ahmed smiled. I don't have all of it, but I have something. Chasing the down payment. Ahmed had 11.0 saved. He needed at least 25.0 for down payment and initial cleanup. He pulled 5.0 from business profits. Asked Bilal and Maria if they'd invest. 500 each. Sold his old Camry for 800. Worked 2 extra Uber shifts for 3 weeks straight and borrowed 30 from a friend back home in Lahore. In 38 days, he had 25,300. He handed the cashier's check to Stavros in a tiny law office in Astoria. When the papers were signed, Ahmed stood outside the lot and whispered, "This is mine, not rented, not borrowed, mine." Building the base. The lot needed work, a full clean-out, re-graveling the ground, power access, a portable security shed, fencing repairs. Ahmed worked every day with gloves on, shoveling trash, installing solar-powered lights, painting the old gate. Using Craigslist to hire affordable contractors, Maria cooked food for the workers. Bilal painted the curb yellow and white. In 3 weeks, they had turned an abandoned patch of Queens into the Uber Dream HQ. Then came the city. On a sunny Monday, a city inspector showed up. "You got a permit for this lot?" he asked. "It's my property now," Ahmed smiled. "Still needs business zoning clearance and occupancy certificate. You can't run operations here without that." Ahmed's stomach dropped. "But I own it. I just rent cars. No building, no office." The inspector shrugged. "Even a parking lot needs clearance. You're flagged now. File or shut it down." Bureaucracy. Frustration. What followed was a bureaucratic nightmare. Forms he couldn't understand. City websites that crashed calls to zoning departments with hour-long holds. Documents needing notarization. Insurance. Affidavits. He sat at his desk one night, surrounded by papers, completely overwhelmed. "I'm not stupid," he whispered. "Why does this feel like a punishment for dreaming?" That's when Maria said, "You need someone who's walked this road, not just YouTube videos. Meet Deborah, the advocate." Maria introduced him to Deborah Stern, a retired Jewish real estate lawyer who now ran a nonprofit for minority entrepreneurs. Deborah wore thick glasses, spoke like a professor, and had a soft spot for underdogs. After hearing Ahmed's story, she said, "Let's fix this, sweetheart. You're not alone anymore." In 3 weeks, she filed the zoning request. Ahmed speaks up. Inspired by Deborah, Ahmed gave his first public presentation at a small business immigrant panel in Brooklyn. He wore his cleanest hoodie, stood in front of 70 people, and shared, "I came to drive. Now I own land. Not because I'm special, but because I kept moving even when it hurt. That's the Uber dream." People clapped. A startup founder approached him after. "Let's talk. You ever thought about franchising this?" A permanent pin on the map. By the end of spring, Ahmed had cleared the legal hurdles, fully zoned his lot, installed solar CCTV, built a small staff corner with lockers, ordered signage that read, "Welcome to the Uber Dream, Queens Fleet Center." And when he stood alone one morning, coffee in hand, as the sun rose over his own property, he didn't feel like a driver anymore. I felt like a legacy builder. When Ahmed posted a short reel of his new lot standing beside a car, holding a coffee, sun rising behind him, he captioned it, "I came to America with a broken suitcase and a bus card. Now I own 7 cars and the land they stand on. This is what the Uber dream looks like." He thought it might get a few likes. It got 2.1 million views. The video that went viral in just 72 hours. 0 new followers on Instagram. 500 Jiaon. DMs from aspiring drivers and entrepreneurs. 3 podcast invites, 1 reporter from the New York Times. Dozens of Desi aunties from all over the world commenting, "MashaAllah beta, you made us proud." Ahmed was stunned. He called Maria and said, "Did I just go viral?" She laughed. "You didn't just go viral, you just gave people hope." The first big interview. A week later, Ahmed sat down with The Daily Hustle Show, a popular podcast that highlights immigrant success stories. Wearing his branded Uber Dream cap, he spoke for 50 minutes about how he started with nothing, sleeping in a basement, driving Uber with holes in his shoes, building a system with spreadsheets and sweat, the betrayal that almost crushed him, buying his first lot. The host, Nick Alvarez, said, "Man, I've interviewed millionaires, but your story, it made me tear up. You've got the heart of a lion." When the episode aired, it hit 1 on Apple Podcasts, Entrepreneurship, from operator to thought leader. Ahmed realized something important. People didn't just want to rent cars from him, they wanted to learn from him. So he launched a YouTube channel, The Uber Dream, a free newsletter, Hustle Smarter, Not Harder, an online course, with help from Deborah Bilal, how to start a car rental side hustle in the US. The course sold 117 copies in the first week, and Ahmed began getting invites to speak at community colleges, a free newsletter, Hustle Smarter, Not Harder, an online course with help from Deborah Bilal, how to start a car rental side hustle in the US. The course sold 117 copies in the first week, and Ahmed began getting invites to speak at community colleges, Zoom sessions for Pakistani American youth immigrant business, boot camps, a live Turo webinar with 0 viewers, the corporate knock on the door. In July, a man named Eli Katz from a tech-backed car rental platform reached out. "We've been watching your story. You've built something authentic, real, scalable. We'd like to partner or even explore acquisition." Ahmed blinked at the email. Acquisition? The offer was $220,000 for the entire fleet operation, not the brand, not the lot, just the car business. Ahmed didn't sleep that night. He paced the garage. He thought of every Uber ride he drove in silence, every gallon of gas he pumped in the snow, every broken taillight, every booking, every spreadsheet. Then he replied, "Respectfully, I'm not selling, I'm building. This isn't just a fleet, it's a flag I planted." Eli simply replied, "If you ever change your mind, call me first." The mirror and the man. One morning, Ahmed stood in front of the mirror again, this time wearing a clean branded jacket with the Uber Dream stitched in gold. He whispered, "I remember you. I remember when you had nothing but sweat and prayer. Don't forget who you were, but don't be afraid of who you're becoming." Then he looked out the window at his growing fleet and smiled. He wasn't scared anymore. Full circle, the trip to Lahore. In late August, Ahmed booked a flight home. His first visit in 3 years. He carried gifts for his mother, a brand new phone for his sister, a proposal to invest in an all-women Uber fleet back home. When he landed, he cried in the taxi, not because he missed Lahore, but because he no longer felt like a failure returning. He was coming home as a story worth telling, the Uber Dream Kit. Before flying back to New York, Ahmed launched a new product on his site, the Uber Dream Starter Kit. It included a guide for setting up Turo, Uber legally, a contract template for hiring drivers, budgeting spreadsheets, tips on garage management, motivational voice notes from Ahmed himself, It sold out in 2 weeks. He wasn't just running cars anymore. He was building a movement. It had been 2.5 years since Ahmed Raza stepped off a Greyhound bus in New York City with nothing but a cracked phone and a crushed spirit. Now, he sat in a polished co-working office in Queens, across from a young Egyptian woman named Hannah, who nervously clutched a notebook. "I'm a single mom. Just got my license. I saw your Instagram. Can I really start this with just one car?" Ahmed smiled. "I started with just one decision not to quit. One car is more than enough, if your intention is bigger than fear." Scaling the impact. By the time fall rolled in, the Uber dream had become a full-scale ecosystem. Chain operations. No cars total. Chaseturo. 3 Uber. 1 garage. 1 satellite lot patrol full-time drivers. 2 part-time cleaners. A virtual assistant. A bookkeeper. Maria. Now, the full-time operations manager. Brand. Reach. 120 YouTube subscribers, 250 Instagram followers, 60 newsletter subscribers. Course translated into Spanish, Urdu, Tagalog. Speaking engagements in Atlanta, Houston, and Toronto. Impact. Over 300 students had taken his starter course. He personally mentored 14 new immigrants, helping them start their own side hustles. 3 former mentees now owned microfleets of their own. The boot camp begins. In January, Ahmed launched the Uber Dream Bootcamp, a free 6-week accelerator for immigrants who had a valid driver's license, were unemployed or underpaid, wanted to start a legal, income-generating business. They met every Sunday in a mosque's community hall. Ahmed stood in front of 30 students from Haiti, Bangladesh, Venezuela, Sudan, and taught them everything he had learned the hard way. One of them said, "You're not a teacher. You're proof that it's still possible." The Netflix call one day. A man named Darnell James called from Los Angeles. "I'm a documentary producer. We saw your podcast episode and your YouTube. Ever thought about telling this story on a bigger screen?" Ahmed froze. "Netflix? TV?" He smiled. "If my story helps someone leave depression behind and build something they never thought possible, then yes. Let's tell it loud." Global dreams. Later that year, Ahmed traveled to London to meet Turo UK host Dubai, to explore car leasing partnerships, Lahore to help set up the first women-only Uber service, in honor of his late sister. He stood on rooftops in 3 different continents, and all he could think was, "My father died believing I would never succeed. My mother prayed I would survive. Now I'm building things none of them ever dreamed of." A letter to himself. On the 3-year anniversary of his first Uber ride, Ahmed wrote this and pinned it in his garage. To the man who used to cry between rides, "You didn't just build cars, you built confidence. You didn't just rent vehicles, you rented people hope. You turned exhaustion into a business, fear into focus, and despair into discipline. This is no longer just your Uber dream. This is ours." Final ride, first legacy. That Sunday, he drove an Uber shift himself for nostalgia. His last rider was a quiet old man, gray suit, wrinkled hands. As Ahmed dropped him off, the man turned and said, "Son, you drive like someone who's going somewhere." Ahmed laughed. "Sir, I already arrived." The Uber dream, the legacy lives on Ahmed Raza. Didn't just change his life, he lit a path for the forgotten, the defeated, the lost, the hustlers with no hope, and the dreamers with no one to believe in them. And he proved, once and for all, if the Uber dream touched your heart, if Ahmed's journey reminded you that your past doesn't define your potential, then share this story. Tag a friend who needs motivation. Comment if you've ever felt lost. And remember, your next chapter can begin with one ride. Subscribe to Funny Fun for more inspiring stories like this. Let's keep the dream alive together. Thanks for watching Funny Fun new series. If the Uber dream touched your heart, if Ahmed's journey reminded you that your